Hello. So you're welcome to the Ielts listening section. Welcome, class. So what are we going to be doing today? Without no further ado, so we're going to be addressing the test format and structure of the listening section, as well as letting you know strategies that will guarantee you success once you utilize and practice them, and also the challenges that you might face and solutions for it. So make sure to return back to this lesson in case you are facing any challenges during the listening section. Okay, so what's the listening section all about? The listening test assesses your ability to understand spoken English in different contexts, all right? And so it's the same for both academic and general training version of the IELTS. It's for 30 minutes, and for the paper test takers, you have 10 minutes to transfer your answer to the answer sheet. And for computer, you have no extra time. You're just given few times to look over your answer. All right, so what does the exam, what's the structure of the exam, what's the format? It is very good to familiarize yourself with this so that you are not caught unaware. And also, it helps you to prepare for the exam as well. So, what is the general test format of the listening section? The IELTS listening test is divided into four sections. Each of these sections have 10 questions, making a total of 40 questions. The sections increase in difficulty as the test progresses. So as you go from section 1 to section 2 to section 3 to section 4, the difficulty increases. So what is peculiar to each of this section? So for section one now, it is based on everyday situations. It's usually a conversation between two people, and you have cases like booking a hotel room or sometimes reporting an event or making an inquiry about a festival or something. But you must be rest assured that it's an everyday conversation. So it's something that is easy, something that we can relate with most especially. The next section is the section two. Section two also has to do with an everyday conversation, but this time around it is just one person speaking. So that's what we call a monologue, and it's usually a conversation or a speech about a certain place. It's either the person is talking about the place, talking about the history of the place, or the person is talking about the changes they want to make to a place. Under section two is where you have mapping questions oftentimes. And so basically, that's what's found in section two. And so we move on to section three. Section three usually is an educational context or a training context. So you have a conversation between two to four people. So it's usually a discussion between students. Sometimes, if it's more than two people, you have a discussion between students and their tutor. Usually, the conversation is just based on educational assignments or something of that nature. And last but not the least is section four. Section four is also a monologue, one person speaking, and it's usually an abstract of a university lecture. So it's usually academic subject and they use paraphrases a lot. So, like we mentioned earlier before, when we were dealing with understanding the IELTS model, each of these sections have variety of question types. They have multi-choice, we have matching, we have plan, map, diagram labeling, we have completion questions. When you see form notes, just know that completion questions look like filling the gap. All right, so filling the gap kind of questions are what we call completion questions. So that's the general format and structure of the IELTS listening class. Section. So let me go over it again. You have section one, a conversation between two people, everyday context. Section two, a monologue, everyday context. Section three, an academic setting, a discussion between students and their tutors. a conversation between 2 to 4 people. And then we have section 4, which is a monologue as well in the academic settings, probably making a presentation to people. So that is it about the test format and the test structure of the listening test. So, what are the strategies that you can imbibe that would help you get an high band in the listening section? Let's go right into it. The first thing is that you want to understand the question types. So it is very important that you familiarize yourself with the different question types. That way you're not caught unaware in the exam. And also getting familiar with it also helps you to recognize, okay, which of these question types am I having difficulties with? Which of these question types am I so good at? So that that guides your practice as well, in terms of now when you know your weak areas, you begin to work on it. All right, so you want to make sure you understand what you would be expecting in the exam. And the second thing you want to do that will help you get success is immerse yourself in an English speaking environment. Listen to it, be English speaking throughout the period that you'll be preparing for your IELTS exam. So you want to listen to a variety of English accents, because you never can tell which of the accents you hear in your exam. It might be British, can be Australian, it can be American. Just listen to a variety. So engage in active listening by summarizing or taking notes of what you hear. So you don't just want to listen to these accents, you want to make sure that, okay, you really understand what they are saying. So one way to go about it is probably listen to a podcast or listen to a movie, summarize it in terms of, okay, what have they said? All right. And then you play it again with a caption where you can read what is being said and ask yourself, okay, what the things that I've summarized, the notes that I've taken, do they match what I have read from the caption? That way you know that, okay, yes, you have a strong listening listening skills when it comes to the variety of English accents. The next thing you want to do is you want to predict your answers. So usually when it comes to the IELTS listening test, you find out that they'll give you some time, few seconds to look at the question before they play the audio. Please take out your time to read the question. You don't want to be distracted during that time. Read the question. And during that period, you should be able to predict answers. Not in all cases, but sometimes you're able to predict answers. So, what do I mean by that? There are some questions you read and you know that, oh, I'm expecting dates here. Oh, I'm expecting an amount of money here. Oh, I'm expecting a figure here. Or I'm expecting a name, the name of a place or the name of a person here. You want to predict your answers, okay, as often as you can. You might not be able to predict in all cases, but you want to predict them based on the context and the keywords that are in that particular question. So the next thing you want to do is also improve your vocabulary. Like I said, expand your vocabulary, particularly when it comes to synonyms and paraphrases, as they are often used in the tests. All right, so you want to practice recognizing different ways of expressing the same idea. So later on, in one of the resources provided for the course, you will see like a list of words and their synonyms and their paraphrases. We'll just take them off some IELTS audios that we've listened to over time and drive out these things so that you understand. You must be intentional about improving your vocabulary. When you see a word that you don't know, make sure that you check the meaning and also make sure you check the context in which it is used. All right. Yeah, some words might mean the same thing, but they are not used in the same context. You want to be intentional about that. And the next thing you want to do is you want to practice time management. Okay. Time management is very important. You must practice how to answer the questions while listening to the audio. Don't try to answer the questions after listening to the audio. Listen. As you listen, you want to answer the question. All right, so you must work within that allotted time. When they say look at the question, try as much as possible, practice looking at the question. If you are able to look at the specified questions during that time frame, you get better with practice. And also practice transferring your answers within the 10 minutes provided at the end of text. You want to utilize your 10 minutes well enough. Check your spelling, check your grammar, you know, make sure that you practice. You want to utilize that 10 minutes. You don't want to say, I've not finished writing once the 10-minute timer is up. No, you must practice, and you do that during your practice time. And last but not the least is that you stay focused. When it comes to the listening test, you find out that concentration is very key. You can't afford to be distracted. All right. So you must stay focused while listening to the audio. And of course, you have to develop techniques to regain focus if you get distracted. And of course, we'll go into that when we go into the nitty gritty of the listening section. And so those are the strategies that once you imbibe them, I'm sure it will get you a good score when it comes to the listening test. So there are challenges that you definitely face when it comes to the listening test. And so I've compiled few challenges or most common challenges that people face and the solution to it. So let's go right into it. The first one is accent and pronunciation. Most times we complain, especially those of us that are not English native speakers. I'm not saying English speaking, English native speakers. Okay, we have difficulty understanding the different accents. So you want to make sure that you listen to various English accents through podcasts, movies, news channels. Start with, so the pro tip for this is start with what you enjoy. Do you love action movies? Start with that. Do you love romantic movies? Start with that. Start with a topic that you are interested in, and then get you can now expose yourself to diverse ones later on. But first start with what you enjoy, so that way it's an enjoyable process for you. And then the second thing that people usually have problem with is the speed of the speech. Sometimes in the audio, the speakers talk quickly or use complex sentences. So sentences that are long. So you want to make sure that you practice such a manner that you are exposed to different materials that include fast speech. All right, you want to use resources like TED Talks. And why TED Talks in particular? TED Talks are usually suggested because now the people are trying to compress a lot of lessons in very few minutes in the allotted time they have given to them. So they have to talk very fast most times. So if you are able to follow through when listening to a TED Talk, know that okay, you would have a good hang of the listening section and academic lectures as well. All right. So you want to get used to that fast pace. Okay. And the next challenge that people usually complain of is struggling to take notes while listening. Oftentimes, especially when it comes to section 3, which we'll go into later, you might have cause to take note of some things. All right. Now, people are usually ask, how do you take notes and at the same time listening? They're usually so fast. The solution to this is develop shorthand and practice summarizing spoken text. So now, when they tell you notes taking in listening, it is not for you to write word for word. No, it is for you to write what is relevant to the question. Of course, as we go along, we'll show you how to know what to focus on by identifying the keywords in the section. So once you have identified the keywords, you know what particular part of the conversation you need to listen to. And it is those areas that you want to, in case, take down a thing or two. And the next or last distraction challenge that we'll be talking about is distracting information. So there's this thing that happens in IELTS listening where there's a part of the audio that is not related to any question. And sometimes, if you're not careful, you get confused in terms of, oh, I think they've moved past the answer, or I've not answered this, oh, where are we? That's usually common when it comes to the IELTS exam. But what's the solution to this? Focus on the keywords in the question. In that time frame they've given you to look at the question, highlight keywords, highlight words that you think will serve as a signpost or will serve as a guide for you to know when to listen to your answer, and anticipate hearing these words in the audio. You are not just taking note of it because of the sake of it. No, you are looking forward, and that's what we call active listening technique. You are looking forward to hearing those words either exactly the way they are or paraphrased or a synonym is used, but you are looking forward to, I want to hear these keywords because it's important for me to answer this question. So that usually helps with dealing with distractions. So let me know, is there any other challenge that you face when listening? Just let me know, type in the comments, and then we'll talk about how you can overcome that. And so I have an extra tip for you, and that is simulate the test conditions. Because of the structure of this test, we'll be focusing on one section after the other because we want you to master each section, so we deal with it separately and not as a whole. You want to make sure that you practice the test in totality, that is answer 1 to 40. Yes, because of the structure, like I said, we'll be dealing with 1 to 10 first, 11 to 20. No. But when you are practicing, once you get a good hang of the strategies for each section, you've practiced it and you think, oh, you've mastered it, you want to go on and practice under the test condition, listening to the whole listening section, answering 1 to 40, staying in a time yourself. It's usually 30 minutes anyway. Once the audio is stopped, usually that means that's the end of the listening section. All right, and work in a quiet environment. Don't try listening in a noisy environment. Okay, it doesn't make sense. You, of course, not to do as well as you can. And yeah, so this is the final thing I would say when it comes to our class today. Remember that you should stay calm, stay focused during the listening section. It is very, very important. And of course, with practice, you notice that you get better and you gain a clear understanding of the strategies that we are going to be dealing with, and you'll be better prepared to handle the listening test effectively. So let me know, what was your strong take home point for this lesson of today. Let me know, point it out. Do you have any questions? I'll be glad to answer in the comment section. So I look forward to going into depth for the listening section. See you in the next class. Bye for now.